it's 3 o'clock.
It is already. Time absolutely flies when you're having fun and you're having great conversations and great input. And then we're about to have another one, I have no doubt. BJ Stevens, a lady with a fair amount of experience. BJ, we won't give away too much, but coming out of Iowa in the US, your time this morning, I'm not sure what time it is there this morning. Have I got that right? Get towards us later hours in the afternoon here, but fantastic to have you on board, and really looking forward to your thoughts and your insights, and you're going to give us some goosebump moments. I'm absolutely sure of it. So BJ, lovely to have you on board, and you've been talking to the farmers as well, I know, in South Africa here, so we can have some conversations around that as well, maybe later on, but thanks for joining us, and over to you.
Thank you, Ivan, so very much. And to Trevor and to Lee, thank you for this amazing summit. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I am from Iowa in the States, and it is now 8 o'clock in the morning here. So I have been with you since about 5:30 or 6 o'clock my time. Pardon me. There's a lot that has been discussed and brought forth today that I have been jotting down notes. So what planned presentation I had made is out the window. I'm just going to speak to my notes and to a lot of the ideas and thoughts and presentations that have been made. So it may seem a little disjointed in my presentation, and I do apologize for that. That's not my habit and that's not my training, but this is a relaxed form. So bear with me, folks. First of all, I want to speak to Kelvin. I know he's not any longer with us, I believe, but I too am a former John Maxwell certified trainer and speaker. I'm no longer with John Maxwell, but he has remained an extremely influential mentor in my life. My background, oh my God. I have 50 years, I'm a dinosaur, folks. I have 50 years in business and sales and marketing, and I have over 35 years in coaching and training, focusing mainly on speaking development skills, helping improve people, helping improve individuals with their presentation skills, whether that just be someone who is somewhat uncomfortable in speaking to small or large groups, or whether that's an individual who has some skill sets but wants to improve their presentation skills, or whether that is somebody who is really looking to improve, I believe you guys call it a CV, we call it their resume here, to improve their resume and to impress, perhaps maybe for a future promotion. I also work a great deal on personal development, and that is a huge area because it can cover so many different personal development, training, ideas, and theories and practices. I focus mostly on the individual. My business is called Finding Goosebump Moments, as Ivan just referred to, because I happen to believe that everybody has a certain magic. It doesn't matter whether you see it or not. My job as a coach is to help you identify that magic and identify your real potential. So that's kind of where my personal development comes in through. On the speaking side, I help you form your dynamicity, which is a word that I coined a while back after viewing someone who is a known speaker within the network marketing industry. I had followed him and long admired him, but he was at a huge conference, and the master of ceremonies had done a marvelous job of getting the audience riled up. He was saying, Folks, if you enjoyed the previous presenter, you are in store for a marvelous challenge right now. So please get on your feet. Let's raise the roof, applaud, and let's welcome this gentleman. He comes on stage, and instead of being dynamic and energetic and focused on what he's doing, he comes out walking, never saying a word, and he's got his phone up. And he's taking pictures. And then he says, "Hello, everybody." I was so upset. I was so depleted because, first of all, that is definitely not how you gain the attention of an audience. They want energy. They want to see that you've got value you're bringing to the stage. And he just dropped the whole temperature in that room within seconds. That is definitely not. So I coined the word dynamicity because you have to be dynamic in your presentation, and you have to bring that electric charge to whatever it is that you are presenting. Going back to my background, I started at age 14. Next year, or next month actually, I will be 67. So I'm older probably than anybody on this panel, but I have value, I have experience, and I have some wisdom. I am also known as the unconventional coach and the unconventional speaker because I do not believe in cookie cutter thoughts. I do not believe in the traditional manner in which every business or every coach or every thought process has been spewed into people. That's not how we exist. That's not how we function. Each person is an individual with their own unique talents and skills and abilities. And as a coach and trainer, I have to focus on that individuality. You may have some likeness, and you may have some shared ideologies and thought processes, but in the real world, everybody is a unique individual, and that's where I focus on. That's where the magic comes in. And if that magic and that connection is made, Ivan, you are correct. You will get goosebump moments. I have coached in over 7 countries, and I have coached well over 500 people. And I can tell you, the greatest compliment any coach or any trainer can ever get is when you see a former student or a former client go on and show that magic. They're not afraid of stepping out. I use the word jump. You have to jump. You have to be willing, to quote a well-known person, you have to be willing to take that leap of faith, jump, and then earn your wings on the way down. You have to do that. And I believe now in this culture with COVID and all the experiences, and Trevor, you mentioned it, the fear, the scaredness that everybody's experiencing, we have to embrace that jump right now. We have to do it, or sadly, we're going to lose a lot of very talented businesses, a lot of talented individuals. We have to create a culture where a culture doesn't exist. We have to include that right now. I'm going to go back to John Maxwell for a moment, because he and Zig Ziglar, who I personally knew and trained under for a few years, they've had the biggest influence on me, and they have 2 very important quotes that I actually put together. Ben mentioned the what if question. I have been using what if in my coaching and training for over 25 years. It is the what if question and the why question. My former clients get so aggravated at me because in discussions, They'll make a statement and I'll say, why? They'll make a statement and I'll say, well, why? And I keep asking the why, because we're not thinking big enough. We're not, or deep enough. If we don't explore that whole potentiality that lies in that and get to the root, as Ben said, to the root of the question, you're living in a kind of a pretense world. So John Maxwell has a marvelous book out called Living a Life, Intentional Living. Intentional Living. It is a marvelous book. It is a faith-based book because John Maxwell is Dr. John Maxwell, and his doctorate is in theology. But his leadership training and his people skills are phenomenal. But here's what he says, and I'm going to paraphrase and combine the two quotes. What if most people want to live a life of significance? That's our whole purpose, our whole meaning in life is to be of value and importance to something, somebody, or some ideology or some dream. So because we want that significant life, what if we turned it around and said, but what if you lived a life of intentional significance? That you put a purpose behind that. Whatever dream you have, whatever goal you're aspiring to, but that involves personal development, that involves more education, that involves getting involved in understanding what it is that you want. We're all so worried about, we have these dreams and these hopes that I want that person's life, I want that person's income, I want that person's profession, I want that notoriety. You see it a lot in sports, you see it a lot in the entertainment world. Everybody's mimicking Beyonce, everybody's trying to mimic Richard Branson and all those people. But at the same time, they don't realize they may not possess the skills. They may not possess the wherewithal to get there. They just want. Well, let's start focusing on what you actually have to bring forth. And then let's work on developing that education, that system, that experience, all of that. Because without that, without knowing who you are, which by the way is a program that I offer, without knowing who you are, you're never going to get to the next level. Nobody ever climbs a mountain from base to apex in one leap. You have levels that you must achieve before you get to the summit. So if you don't learn to work your way up, you're never going to achieve what you're trying to achieve. Zig Ziglar had a marvelous quote, and I believe that. He says, if you give enough people what they want, you are going to get what you want in return. But I'm going to add something that actually a fellow coworker at one time quoted, and it's absolutely perfect. It works in just about any business, any training, any coaching, any theory of life. When you combine that intentional, significant living with giving people what they want, it comes down to people over profits. And it's backwards, because as we have heard here, people are focused on the money. People are focused on the profits. They think that if they don't get 10% improvement in their clients or in their revenues each month or each quarter, they're a failure. What if you turn that around and you say, well, let's give them what they want. We may suffer 5% in our annual or quarterly revenues, but we've gained 35 new clients, which in essence will give you more profit. We have it backwards. We're thinking backwards. And I'm going to speak to entitlement a little bit. We often, I don't know about in your countries, but here in the States, a lot of this new generation is feeling entitled because they don't have the work ethic. They don't have, because of what has gone on in the last 40 years around here, since the Reagan years and since that huge increase in money, people think that they don't have to work. They think success is just automatically going to come to them. They don't understand that, here's another one of my phrases, you got to put in the time to earn the dime. They don't understand that. And we need to, again, create more conversation about teaching these younger people what it is that actually matters in business and in life, and to achieve what it is everybody wants to achieve in life. It really does come full circle. When you give enough people what they want, you're going to get back. And when you put people, not business, people over profits, people appreciate that you recognize they're struggling. People appreciate that you understand the worries. In my coaching, I always say, what is it that is, put your feet on the floor every day? You've got to be hungry. You've got to be willing to enjoy what you do. If you're not enjoying your business, if you're not enjoying people, if you're not enjoying the life you're living, we need to have a conversation, because there's always tomorrow. There is always a reason to put your feet on the floor every day, even if it's only to provide a wonderful home for your family, even if it's only to volunteer 2 hours a week at some community event or nonprofit. Get involved in people, get involved in life. Again, we need to find somehow to focus all of that and bring it back into play. You know, the old methods, again, I'm a dinosaur, guys. I've been around since the early 70s. So some of those lessons and some of those brilliant people back there got it. And they shouldn't, those teachings and ideas and how things were created should never be forgotten. Yes, technology has made a big difference, and how we communicate with each other has really influenced business and how it's conducted. But we need to incorporate and keep those ideas and that training from the past, because they're valuable, they're priceless, and they still, 50 years later, apply today. And we cannot forget that. And we need to, again, in our dialogues with people, we need to start reincorporating it and give this new generation some core values. I see a lot of that. Me first, that me first idea. And again, that goes kind of to our present political environment here in the States. I despise it. I absolutely despise that me first, we're better than anybody and everybody. And I totally agree with all the conversation we've had about the exclusions, about the cultural differences, and, you know, here in the States, Black Lives Matter. Everybody matters, you know, and I don't like the fact that we're trying to separate people from whatever they believe in, because our country was rooted on bringing everybody together. And it just upsets me so much. Plymouth, UK, is getting ready to celebrate the Mayflower 400. And I have been fascinated. I'm a kind of a history buff anyway, but I've been fascinated that all the work that they're putting into that marvelous celebration, where they're expecting over 40,000 people, and it has such a connection to the founding of America. In my middle part of the country. Now, I can't speak to the eastern cities like Plymouth, Massachusetts, but in my part, there's not been word one. There's not been a broadcast. There's not been a news report. There's not been a radio report. There's been nothing on social media. There's been nothing about it. So I took that leap of faith. All those videos that I'm getting from that Mayflower 400 group on Facebook, I'm sharing with our local television station. And I am just spreading it out there, and I'm trying to get somebody to do a special interest story because I care. And that's where we need to bring that back. We care about each other. We care about our fellow human being. We care. And if we lose that, we've lost everything. There won't be any businesses. There won't be any collaborations. There won't be any synergy. We need to put some dynamicity back into everything that we do, because there's magic out there, guys, and there's tons of goosebump moments that could be had. We need to find that, which goes back maybe to some of the business strategies that could be developed. What is it that we are really working on? If we approach it from this direction, what kind of response can we get? If we approach it from this direction, where is the value going to be coming from? It all comes full circle. Don't ever lose sight of the basics. Don't ever try and be too successful too fast, because it's not going to work and you will implode. I've seen it a million times. Don't get in a rush. Don't get in a hurry. Plan a short-term and a long-term strategy. I applaud you guys for wanting to do that 1 million people. That is very adventurous on your part. And I do wish you huge success. And I'm excited because apparently whatever you put into place is working. So that is marvelous. And I'm gonna get high fives, thumbs up. You're getting, seriously, it's a wonderful approach. It's a new approach. And that's what we need. We need that dynamicity going. Now, to go back a little bit into my history, what brought me into where I'm at today, and I'm going to speak about your partnerships here very shortly, but what brought me into this was, as a child, my life was very tumultuous. I came from a family that didn't express a lot of love. My father was very reserved. If my brother or I did anything successful in school, like won an award or got first place or something, he would always come back with, well, you didn't come in first. Why didn't you come in first? That means you didn't try hard enough. You need to try hard. Or you didn't give it your all, or something. And it just kept bringing you down. At 16, he walked out on our family. When I was 16, he completely just walked out. At 17, I was viciously and horrifically domestically violated. And that put me in a very dark place. At 20, I entered a marriage that I should never have entered. However, that too became a domestic violence situation, but not physical. This one was psychological, and he was a master at it. And he took what little self-respect and self-worth and dignity that I had, which wasn't much, and he pulverized it. And he put me in a bigger, darker closet than I had ever had. during the process of our divorce, I was only married 3 years, which was 2 years and 9 months too long. But in that process, I discovered, unbeknownst to me, that he had fraudulently forged my name to over $100,000 in debt. So because of where I lived, even though I couldn't prove that it wasn't me, I was responsible for half of that debt to pay it back. So for the next 10 years, I worked 4 jobs simultaneously. I had 2 full-time jobs, part-time jobs in marketing and sales, and another part-time job trying to build up my business, another business that I was trying to work on. I had no life. I had no friends. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I went to bed at midnight, and in between, I maybe grabbed a bite to eat. Seriously, I had no life whatsoever for over 10 years. It was lonely. It was extremely lonely. But 10 years later, that's erased. And I'm beginning to see sunlight, and I'm beginning to breathe fresh air. And then I am diagnosed with an extremely rare form of cancer. And given only a 25% chance of survival. I am 36 at the time I'm diagnosed. So the mindset that took place said, why am I even here? With all that I've gone through, with all that the pain and the anger and the torment that I've experienced, and I only have 4 years to live, it just become overwhelming. And again, that dark closet that I always was in became even darker. You know, there's an old saying, when you get so far down, bottom looks like up. For me, I was so far down, when I looked up, I saw bottom. It was a horrendous place to be. Not to mention, and I won't go into this, but not to mention that after I had surgery, my cancer surgery, my body reacted, and it caused a whole lot of trouble for that. But there was a time after I came home from surgery, I'm sitting in my house, in my living room, on my sofa, and the weight of the world imploded on me, and I couldn't handle it. It just was, it was beyond overwhelming. And I had a glass of wine in one hand and a bottle of pills in the other. And I'm sobbing uncontrollably. And I am fractionally seconds away from removing myself. And I can't explain it. In all these years, I cannot explain what happened. But there truly was a little voice. It was not the voice of God, folks. It was not that. But it was a little voice that said, what the hell are you doing? You have a purpose. You have a reason to be here. So fight. And ironically, it was 3 men who put me into that hole. And it was 3 men who brought me out of it. And it was Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn, 2 of my biggest mentors. The other one was I don't even know what he was. To this day, I don't know. I don't think he was a psychologist or a psychotherapist or anybody like that. I think he was just a basic social working counselor. I do. But over 6 or 8 years that I spent with him his approach, which is kind of where I got my unique approach, his approach was, he's not asking the questions typical therapists ask. What do you feel? What are you thinking? What would you have done? He doesn't approach it in that way. He actually antagonizes my anger. And then he lets me scream and cry and stomp and yell and shout because it's cathartic. And it actually helped me. He's the one I give most of the credit to, because he's the one who kept saying, why don't you feel worthy? Why aren't you feeling that you have something valuable to give back to life. From there, I'm going to advance a little bit, but from there, I started going back to school. I have 3 college degrees, and I started investing time and experience into Toastmasters. And I am now a gold accredited member of Toastmasters. Then I went into the National Speakers Association and gained a lot of experience from there. I wasn't with NSA very long, but it still provided some understanding and some skills and some training. During all of this, I'm still marketing, I'm still selling, I'm still earning a living. And after I came home from the hospital, I started joining all kinds of support groups. And only one had anything to do with my cancer. It was a women with cancer support group. But I found very early that that was a whining support group. All they wanted was sympathy. It wasn't a culture or an environment of positivity or you can type of atmosphere. I soon left, but I knew that there was something more out there. So I joined all kinds. I bet I was in 15 or 20, but support groups like children with or parents with Down syndrome, Alzheimer's support groups, leukemia family support groups, burn victims support group, blind support groups. And the life lessons that I took away from there were immense. But there was an absolute underlying awareness, two actually. But the biggest takeaway for me was it astounds me, and it actually, again, frustrates me when I hear people say, that person's so much different from me, or I'm not like that person. The truth is, and this is kind of my thing, this is what I call the universal laws of life. There's so many of them, but one of them is we're not different. We are not different. We all have the universal law of safety, security. We want our families to be happy. We want our children to be well clothed, well educated, protected. We want food on our table, roofs over our heads. I don't care where you go, to the poorest third world country, or you come from a family that has $500 billion. That same basic premise of life, that universality that we all have. We're not different. And it just makes me, again, frustrated when I see the diversion that people are trying to force upon us. It is ridiculous. And I agree with Ben, it's stupid. And again, that needs to have a conversation around it. But because of all of that, I recognized, I began feeling important. I began realizing I do have some skill. I do have a value. So I started sharing my story in presentations and a lot of the life lessons that I had learned along the way in my public speaking. And the connectivity was amazing. So I kind of branched out into storytelling. And I've helped people develop their own personal story. It's not about you. It never has been about any one presenter. Public speaking is not about the speaker. It's about the relationship that you build with the audience. So if you have an audience of 5,000 and you only reach one person, you have been successful. And that's another thing I want people to understand. It's not about impressing the masses. You only need to start with one. One person can then say, I heard the most marvelous speaker the other day. The topic hit home. I think you need to go listen. And they'll come and they'll bring in somebody else and they'll bring somebody else. And pretty soon your world gets pretty big. And that is how you build businesses. It's how you build relationships. It's how you build your life. It's how you build your families, your communities. One person at a time, one step at a time. You got to care. You got to feel. You've got to collaborate. You've got to understand. And the biggest problem I think a lot of people have now is listening. When people start talking, we close our ears because what we have to say is more important than what we're hearing. We're not relating to that person's concerns or fears or problems. Going back to what puts your feet on the floor, ask them also what keeps you awake at night. What is that underlying problem that maybe you and I can solve, or I can refer you to somebody who is better at it than I am. We need to listen more, which goes back to the question that I asked Ben of leadership. And that speaks to a lot of the training John Maxwell teaches. He said the biggest lesson that he ever learned was in the very first church after graduating seminary. He went in thinking, I've got this. I'm trained, I'm educated, and I'm going to change this tiny little church of, I think there was like less than 100 members in the church. So he said that at the first meeting of the church council, he had on a yellow pad, he had outlined all the things that he had wanted to try and achieve. And the president of the church council said, "Thank you, welcome, Dr. Maxwell, we appreciate you coming here." Now, he stood up and then he said, "Joe, do you realize that there's a leak down in the basement? Can you get on that this Saturday? And Frank, how about you helping the women set up the tables and chairs for our big banquet coming up on this Saturday? And Marge, how about you going out and talking to the ladies and see if we can get some things made for sale at this thing?" That president actually took command and started delegating work. And everybody said, "Great." Dr. Maxwell said, "I sat back, my jaw dropped, and I'm listening." And he said, "Do you know what? By the next weekend, everything was done. Everything was done." And he said, "I took my yellow pad, I threw it at the bottom of my desk drawer, and never once did I ever use it again. Because I allowed somebody else to use their talent, their skills, and their abilities to lead. I'm the leader of the church. I'm the pastor of the church. I'm responsible for the souls and of the members." And he said, "I never once opened my mouth during that entire meeting. Everybody else took charge. Everybody else recognized, well, you say the basement's leaking. Well, this window's broken over here. Shouldn't we get somebody to take care of that? Well, yeah. You know, I noticed that the pulpit needs repairing. Oh, yeah, let's do that." As a community, they worked together. As an environment, they worked together. Now, quickly, before I'm taking up a lot of time here, but I want to speak about your partnerships. I know there's one or two here on here that are in that group. If you are not a member, I am asking you to strongly and encourage you strongly to look into it, because what they have accomplished in just 2 years through networking, virtual networking only, plus it began in Cornwall in the UK, but now they have expanded into many other counties around. In fact, they're getting ready to expand again. And the collaboration, the support, the synergy, the friendships, the environment they have created is mind-blowing. They're in South Africa now. We are in the States right now. And next week, we are launching in Australia, soon to be followed by Canada and other European countries. There was a gentleman on a call just this past week from Germany. So I'm pretty sure we're headed to Germany as well. It's sharing what you do, telling people what you're interested in and looking for, and then the connections are made. And it's UK doing business in America. It's South Africa inviting an American to sit on a summit. It's all kinds of stuff. Let me check here just a moment. Is he here? No, there was a gentleman by the name of Peter Brown. Is he here? There he is. Peter, I'm gonna give you a shout out. On a South African call, not more than a week and a half ago, Peter, in his oral presentation, said, I have a faith-based product. I'm looking to branch out into America, and I'm trying to see if I can get some cooperation or some support or financial assistance or whatever. Having worked for my county government for a while, I was aware, didn't know a soul, but I was aware of certain organizations. So I just started referring. I just started throwing out names and state organizations and universities and all kinds of things. He reached out to Iowa yesterday. He and I were on a Zoom call with the Iowa Economic Development Agency. Peter did a marvelous presentation. Thumbs up. I'm telling you, son, you did awesome. They weren't 100% sure that they could help him, but they know of some federal agencies that maybe be interested in what he's trying to promote, because those federal agencies do work globally along and around of his idea and his project that he's trying to launch. The power of networking, the power of cooperation, the power of collaboration, the power of referrals. It's people helping people, people over profits, giving people what they want to get what you want. Once again, full circle. It all comes around. So reach out to Ivan or Trevor or myself. Let's see if you're not involved in YP. If somebody, Ivan or Trevor, can you put in the co.uk link on there for me? That would, I'm telling you, at least the people you have to be energized by. I have learned so much. Now, on a local level, with your partnerships on a local level, speaking to the fact of the closed mindset, of the fact of the Me Too, of the fact of small businesses being fearful, to Trevor's point, I have an issue. This past week, it's become, as I knew it would, it has become even more apparent. My little corner of the world is agriculture based, and it is very economically depressed. Iowa has 99 counties. We are ranked 99th in unemployment. And we have businesses that either have closed or on the verge of closing. In trying to reach out to our economic development groups, both in the city, in the county, it's been torturous. I will tell you. They don't get the vision. They don't see that the collaboration, how important it is not to just stay local. We're a global world. We're global. We're mobile. And they're losing dollars. And I was trying to approach different businesses and different agencies in different ways. They just didn't get it. I made 15 phone calls, and all 15 said, nah, that's not for me. I'm not interested. But there is one lady who just joined YP that lives only about 20 minutes from me. She is interested in starting a small business like YP in our area. And so I'm going to help her do that. And if I can attract local small business in that kind of an environment, then I'm pretty sure once the conversation gets going, that maybe then we can bring them into the bigger YP group and show them that they're losing money. They're actually losing dollars. But it's going to be a hard fought road, and changing mindset, as you all know, isn't easy. I've been doing it for 50 years this way. Why do I need to change now? Well, the world has changed. Business has changed. Technology has changed. And if you're not getting it, you eventually will either fail or your business isn't going to grow. So having said all of that, I would like, if anybody that is wanting to reach out to me to learn speaking skills or to develop through personal development, get a hold of me. If you want to know how to get into YP and have that conversation about where it can go, get a hold of Trevor or Ivan or myself. If you want a testimony from Peter about what he's getting ready to do and how successful YP has been for him, reach out to Peter. It's amazing. It really is amazing. I'm positive, even though I'm hitting some doors and nobody's understanding. I'm an old Missouri mule. I'm stubborn as anything, and I am not giving up. And until the last ounce of breath leaves my body, I'm going to be out there fighting to make sure that at least this little part of the corner of the world, it grows. So I've got a monstrous hill to climb, but one step at a time, and I am fully aware of that. So to everybody on here, thank you so much. To Ivan, Lee, Trevor, much love. Thank you so much for the invite. This is my very first outside of the U.S. presentation. So as I told everybody the other day, I can check that off my bucket list now. So thank you. I can add that to my resume now. So thank you very much. I appreciate the offer. And this has been wonderful. I have learned a lot, folks. You truly, this panel has been amazing. So thank you. And congratulations, guys, and keep growing.
Fantastic, BJ. Thanks so much. And dynamism and many goosebump moments. So absolutely stunning presentation. Really appreciate you sharing your story with us. I mean, we're all about the stories and gaining inspiration from people's personal stories. So really appreciate those. It just blows me away every time I hear these amazing stories from amazing people like yourself. So really appreciative of all of that. So thank you so much. Okay, folks. Right. Any questions, thoughts, comments that you folks would like to add in? Please just open your mic and join the conversation.
It was amazing, BJ. Thank you. Inspiring as always.
Thank you, Kelly. You're a dear.
I always learn lots from BJ.
Yeah, it's been a stunning day's worth of speakers, and yeah, got another great one to come. But we'll save her for a little bit. She's hiding in the corner at the moment, but we'll attach to her just now. But Master, you wanted to add something in?
Yes, no, I just wanted to say thank you to BJ, and I'm happy that, since this morning you are the first who mentioned the word agriculture, which is something that is very close to my heart, and should I say, coincidentally, myself and Peter are still virtual friends for now, and with the possibility of being good partners as from tomorrow. And he chose the power of this platform of wisdoms. But just one little thing, you mentioned something about divorce, and I know this platform you can share our vulnerability. I'm not a victim of divorce, but I'm divorced, and how can divorce, hold you back in finding yourself or defining yourself? Because what I've learned over the process or over my divorce experience is that people tend to define us out there according to our marriages, whether you are married or not married, or whether your marriage is successful or not successful, and divorcing you for what I would say God has created you to do. They want you to hide back, and they talk of a healing process of about 12 years, when Jesus just said one word and people were healed instantly. But they still say, oh, you must heal, you must heal. So people tend not to want to listen to you because they feel, according to their own standards, you have not healed enough to share real life experience. Yeah, my question is, how did that affect you? I mean, in terms of, your growth, and if that has somehow, affected you or tried to hold you back in terms of your advancement.
Master, that's a superb question, because there's a lot of components in that. And I will share a lot of what my counselor taught me. 1, it's a mindset. 2, other people's opinions, 1, don't matter of you, and 2, they don't pay your bills. So you have to have strength within yourself. It's a mindset. You have to believe in your abilities. You have to believe in your dreams. You have to believe in the focus that you have. And you cannot allow other people's opinions to take away your value, to take away your importance. Again, that is their opinion of you. Don't develop your own opinion of you based on what they have of you. You find your own inner strength. It's work. It's not easy. I will tell you that, because you have been conditioned to think that way. So now you have to change that thought, and you have to find that inner strength and inner ability inside you to know. And excuse my language, but damn it, I'm not going to let them hold me down. I'm going to go and fly where I want to go. And the sad truth, again, of universal law of life is that in every growth, you're going to lose a few friends. It happens. Again, because they're wanting you to be what they want you to be. They want you to live the life that they want you to live. You have to live the life you see and set and believe in yourself. Does that answer the question?
Definitely it does. One of the statements that I always say to people is that, yes, I was married. So they always talk of the second chance and second chance. I always say to them, this is a journey, it's not a second chance. It's like I was in Mount Sinai, now I need to move to Canaan. So it's not a second chance for me. It's just one journey of life that I had to learn, stop and learn and stuff like that. Yeah.
I again, to be very honest with you, in my growth, in my own personal development, I probably lost over half of my friends because they were so negative. They were so, they just preferred to complain all the time. And I didn't want to be around them. There's an old saying in business, you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I didn't want to live in that environment. So I started distancing myself from all that negativity and all that ugliness that they were spewing, because that is apparently where they were comfortable. I'm not comfortable anymore in that negative. I'd had enough of it. I wanted happiness. I wanted growth. I wanted to believe in myself. So I truly did lose over half of my friends. And again, give people what they want, or people over profits. As soon as I started seeing that, I got a whole new group of friendships. Some of them have lasted 20 years. And they're still as strong and supportive today as they were back then. You have to make some hard decisions and some hard life changes. A universal law of life. Life happens.
Absolutely. Thanks, BJ, for those wise words. Yeah. Yeah. Choose your friends carefully, or wisely, as they say. Yeah. Choose your friends wisely. Right. Any other? Yeah, Peter, you want to add something in?
Yeah, just on your partnership side, I mean, BJ, maybe you could just give the community here an idea of some of the different connections available. For example, one of the guys I've connected with is the BBX team, who have designed a community where you volunteer your services and then you get rewarded, and then you can use that tokens to go get other services from other people. So it's really about creating new ideas in difficult times. So maybe you've got just a spectrum of some of the different people you've talked to in your partnerships network.
I definitely can, and we've got one right here, Kelly Swaby. She is definitely one of the resources within the YP group. There's Shane Solomon, who is just the most brilliant connector of people, and his partner, Mike Sphinx, who is the most talented videographer. They have created a business that's on Facebook that started within their own community. It's over 23,000 supporters right now. Phenomenal growth. And he's expanding during COVID. He just enlarged his studios that he has. There's digital marketers, there's graphic artists, there's social media experts, there's counselors, there's health and fitness people in there, nutritionists in there, there's strategists, a business strategy, all kinds there. There's a collection, a woman who specializes in collections. If you have a business that has outstanding debt, she's there to help you collect. There's a gentleman who is in the digital marketing field that just a couple of weeks ago, through a connection in YP, signed 3 or 4 contracts for over $40,000. That's phenomenal. It is those connections that make the difference. There's a gambit. There's artists, there's entertainers, professional musicians. There's just a variety. So we go literally from A to Z in the skill set and the businesses that are being included in the YP, and the collaboration and the connection and the referrals and all the beauty that takes place in there. I get animated, can you tell? I'm very animated when I talk about YP because it's a perfect platform.
Yeah. No, look, it's amazing. And this virtual networking that has taken place over these last 3 months has been absolutely stunning. And it's allowed us all to come together in this environment through all our different environments, you know, so whether it's YP or Only or the Four Ways Chamber or Wisdoms, it doesn't really matter. It's connecting people. It's connecting people in different ways from different environments. And yes, YP is an absolutely stunning environment as well, as they all are. And I think, you know, we're finding lots of like-minded people in the different environments and bringing them together, which is a beautiful thing, as BJ says. So once again, BJ, thank you so much. Again, real privilege to have you on board today, and your time and your insights and your wisdom and your story. Really enjoyed that. So really appreciated for that. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ivan. I would love to be a part of your wisdoms chats in the morning, but unfortunately, because of the time difference, that's 1 a.m. for me.